Hello, everybody, and welcome into the first high school football coaches show live from the Fremont Frickers for 2026. Could it be that time of year already? It is. Like it or not, school is back, and football will be back in just a couple of days. My name is Nick Roth. Love having you here on Eagle 99.1 FM, WFROradio.com, and of course, YouTube Live. Again, if you need to get to our YouTube Live link, you just go to our Facebook page at Eagle 99 and click on the link. It'll take you right over to it. We're going to talk some Bellevue football to begin the season this year. We got head coach Alex Shepard with us. Coach, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And, let's start out. I know we don't like to dwell on the past very much, Coach, but we got to talk about your first season as head coach of the Redmen. Now, I know a lot of coaches will tell you it's not a successful season if you end it with a loss, but 8-4 in your first year and 2 wins over your rival Clyde, that's got to be a good season to start out on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we wanted to keep going, and we wish we were playing in that third week of the playoffs. But looking back on it, yeah, we had a great year. Our seniors went out, not as good as they could, I guess, but they went out on a high note. And we felt like at the end of the year, like we had a successful season.
Well, especially you had a great season, and at the end of the year, you felt you'd be successful probably this year. You have a lot of returning players this year. If I'm correct on this, you have 10 seniors and 14 juniors all returning this year.
Right.
That's 24 returners plus the freshman, the sophomore class, who I didn't even count, and the new incoming freshman. You have 59 total players on the roster this year. I'm sure you're excited about all the young guys and all the returners.
Yeah, we have a lot of pieces back. I mean, we're replacing a handful, especially up front, on our offensive and defensive line, but we've had a lot of guys step up, and we have some pieces there. Obviously, our quarterback and our leading receiver are back from last year. So we have a good mixture. I mean, we've got a few new guys mixing them in, but we have some key pieces back, so we're excited.
Let's talk about. I'm glad you mentioned him, Ike Brown, your returning quarterback. He started since he was a sophomore. Had a really strong junior season last year. He had over 1,000 yards passing, almost 1,500, 120 yards per game through the air. He also ran it into the end zone 6 times for rushing touchdowns. He had 10 with his arm. So how excited are you for Ike to lead this offense this year?
He had a great season last year, but now year 2 of our offense in our system, he's so much farther than we were at this point last year. So we were able to do a few more things, and the things that we always do and that are our staples. Now he knows like the back of his hand. So it's just been nice to see him kind of take that step in this year 2 of the system, and we're really excited for his senior season.
Another guy I wanted to talk about that we didn't get to see a whole lot last year because he was sidelined prematurely with injury is Evan Beauvais. Now, Evan, he very, very strong impact player on the football field, of course, also on the basketball court. Tell me how excited you are to have Evan back this year.
Yeah, his season got cut short. I think he had an ankle issue, maybe week 4 or 5. He came back for a game and then ended up breaking it. So, he only played about a half a year, and he had a lot of success in that half of the year. And it was unfortunate that he didn't finish the year with us in that second half of the season. But, as a senior now, he's got that leadership role, and he's got, those years of experience, and he's going to be a key piece.
Segueing into my next question, you talked about seniors. Like I said, you have a lot of them this year. A nice, solid 10 senior class. Tell me, how proud are you of these guys? What have they shown you in the offseason as far as leadership goes, and how they're making these young guys become Redmen?
Well, the biggest thing that they do is they lead by example. All those kids that we've talked about so far and worked so hard this offseason in the weight room. And while they play in 3 sports, many of them are 3-sport athletes, and they lifted hard year-round during those sports just so they can be ready, for all 3, but obviously for football. And their strength numbers in the weight room just increased tremendously from this time last year to now. So, all they do is they work hard. Most of them are quiet. And sometimes I'd like them to be a little bit more vocal, but they're just good kids, and they lead by example more than anything.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. I always like the guys that led by example more than the ones that were loud. But I understand what you're saying. Sometimes you need those guys
Right.
to get vocal. Now, we talked a little bit about last year you went 8-4. You're starting out again this year with Clyde, as you do most every year. But last year wasn't a normal season. It was actually the first time ever that Clyde and Bellevue, in their long, storied bitter rivalry, faced off in the postseason, and you guys were able to win both matchups. How pumped were you guys last year, and what are you taking from those two games into this matchup?
Well, it's crazy that they've never played twice in the season
I
prior
thought
to
that was
prior to
crazy
me being
too.
here. Because I mean, we're essentially in the same region every year. So
Yeah,
you think over the years it's going to happen at some point, but um, it's just a tremendous program right down the road. I mean,
yeah,
I really think our communities and our programs mirror one another. So,
I agree.
um, I don't have anything but positive things to say about clients. So being able to beat them twice, obviously last year, was exciting for our team. It just shows what we're capable of when we do what we're supposed to do.
Talking with head coach Alex Shepard of the Bellevue Redmen. Coach, thanks so much for your time here tonight. A few more questions for you before I get you out of here. So you go into this season off of 8-4. Of course, we don't think about that, but obviously you're always worried about the next opponent. But who on your schedule do you think is really going to be a measuring stick here early on in the season? Maybe after Clyde, because we'll get into Clyde here in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely can't look past week one
Yeah.
at all. But our whole schedule is tough. I mean, the
Yeah.
Northern Ohio Conference, formerly the SBC, is just a tremendous football conference. I mean, every week was a battle
Yeah.
last year. So obviously we have Perkins and Shelby are in the first half of the
Mm-hmm.
season, and those are two programs that have played for a state championship in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Not to mention Tiffin and Edison and all those teams that are
Yeah.
in our conference that are good. So we expect to battle every week, and we just try to focus on what's in front of us because any week if you're off, you can lose.
Coach Alex Shepard of the Bellevue Redmen. Coach, obviously, week one hasn't happened yet. We're right in that week. How excited are your guys to finally really hit some people that don't have their jersey on?
Yeah, I mean, not with the rules. We've been doing some football activities since the beginning of June.
Yeah.
Off and on, and nowadays it kind of feels like you've been practicing for a couple months, and at some points we have. So they're ready. They're ready. I mean, we practice hard and we get after it practice, but I know that they're ready to find somebody else. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I remember when I was in school and I was about ready around this time. And of course, you have the scrimmages. And tell us a little bit about how your scrimmages have gone these past couple of weeks.
Yeah, so we started off with Oak Harbor in that first scrimmage, and they're a really good program. Who's actually coming on the schedule next season.
Yeah.
And they're always tough, physical, hard
Mm-hmm.
nosed, and
Mike May, that program's always going to be tough.
always good, always good. And it was a good battle. We obviously it was the first go around, and we had some guys that were new. It was their first time playing against another varsity program, so we had a lot of things to learn, and we improved with that in our second scrimmage. We had Sandusky came over, and we had a little bit more success that night. We fixed some things from that first scrimmage, and a lot of people had some success last Friday night. So we're hoping that those same improvements happen this Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, wish you the best of luck on Friday, of course. And, a few more questions before we let you out of here. Coach Alex Shepard of the Bellevue Redmen. So let's quit talking about the past. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about 2 days into the future when you play Clyde at home to start the season. First of all, what does it mean to play your season opener in front of your home crowd? And number two, what do you guys think you have to do to get the job done?
Yeah, I mean the atmosphere week one is usually really good in most places in Ohio, especially. But between Clyde and Bellevue, there's not a whole lot better atmosphere you can get for week one. So we're excited to do that at home in front of our stands, in front of our fans. And I'm sorry, what was your second question?
Well, what do you think you need to see, let's say, out of the offense to get the job done against that tough Bellevue team or the Clyde team?
We got to play mistake-free football on both sides, and I think if we bring effort and energy and we play mistake-free, I think we'll have a good shot to be in it at the end. So we just got to bring effort and intensity and not make mistakes.
And we wanted to have Coach Eric Uthold on tonight as well, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. I wanted to get both sides of the discussion. But obviously, Clyde, last year, towards the back half of the season, they were really showing signs of improvement. And I'm sure you're well aware that, they're going to be a lot tougher and a lot more competitive this year. Have you guys been ramping it up at practice to kind of prepare for that?
Yeah. We expect every year, we expect a battle from Clyde, and we know that they're going to bring that. So we've been talking about that. Expect a 4-quarter matchup, and
Yeah.
we'll see what happens at the end.
Couldn't find a better game to start week one, or at least you'd be hard pressed to find one. Clyde and Bellevue, of course, we'll carry that on our sister station, 92.1 The Wolf. Myself and our new guy, Logan McCrory, will be out there at Bellevue. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff for that. Coach Alex Shepard of the Bellevue Redmen, a couple more questions for you, Coach. So as I was talking about, you're getting to the end of summer camps, but I'm sure you guys start the off-season, weight room lifting program probably in the winter and basketball season for the guys that don't play winter sports. So what has most impressed you from the start of the lifting camps to up to week one here from your guys?
Yeah, just doing it over and over and over. I mean, it can become monotonous, especially when if you're starting in January right after the new year, when it's cold and you're working hard and, here we are 5-6 months later, and our kids are still getting after it in the weight room.
Yeah.
And that's something that you got to do in order to get strong and in order to be competitive. So just the commitment that they put in year round has been great.
And has there been anybody, I don't know if you need to call them out by name. If you want to, you can. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. But has there been anybody that have surprised you maybe development-wise or leadership-wise this offseason that has really stepped up?
We have a lot of returners that were in that position last year, so usually, that's them. But I do have to shout out as many juniors, seniors, and sophomores as we have that do a great job. I got to shout out our freshman class has been a great surprise.
Yeah.
They had a lot of success in the junior high, so we knew that when they were coming in, they were gonna do some good things. But they've hit the ground running, and they didn't shy away from contact, from weight room, from competition, in practice. Our freshman class has been doing really good things. So I'm excited to see them play. Obviously on Saturday after we're finished, but. Yeah.
Coach Alex Shepard of the Bellevue Redmen, one final question before we get out of here. Of course, we talked about the Clyde game coming up. We've talked about summer camps and things of that nature. But what are you most excited about getting to week one? You get lost a lot in the film and the game prep and all of that. But when it comes down to it, you're a football guy, just like every one of your players. What are you most excited about when you step out on that field on Friday night?
Remembering back to last year, week one, and just how hard our kids played.
Yeah.
And that really jumped out at me. And obviously our kids practice hard, and I see what they're doing in the weight room and everything. And I knew we were going to be competitive on the field, but I felt like week one, we really turned it up a notch, and It almost jumped out at me, early on. I was like, wow, how hard our kids are playing. So, as hard as we can play in practice and hard as we can lift in the weight room, I just know that there's going to be a different level on Friday nights, and I'm looking forward to seeing that again in person.
That's head coach Alex Shepard of the Bellevue Redmen. Coach, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. You can catch their game, again, live, 92.1 The Wolf, WOHF, our sister station, Friday night, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff. We'll be live from Bellevue. Before we take it to break, I want to go through a couple of things that are coming up on the BAS Sports schedule. And hold on while I grab my notes here. We're still tying up some loose ends when it comes to our summer schedule. So normally, in the next couple of weeks, you would hear me talk about BG football. You'd hear me talk about BG Coaches Show. We're not quite there in our season yet, but we are getting there. So, of course, Friday we have our simulcast broadcast. It's going to be Ross at Columbian, and our Tiffin Columbian guys, they're going to be doing that broadcast. Ken Egbert and Jimmy Flint. We're excited for that. Jimmy Flint's a new addition this year, and he is all gung-ho and ready to go. And from talking with Jimmy, he is absolutely excited. We're excited to have him. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff for that one, live from Tiffin. Of course, I've talked about the Clyde and Bellevue game. That's going to be live on 92.1 The Wolf on our sister station. I'll be there. Again, our new color commentator, Logan McCrory, he'll be joining me as well. Hope you guys can give him as big a welcome as I have. He is excited. He is ready to go, and we are ready for the sports season here at BAS. And then on Saturday, August 22nd, I'll be at Chaluk's Bar and Grill right here in Fremont from 9 to 11 a.m. for the Cruisin' for Kendall Poker Run. Again, 9 to 11 a.m. on Saturday. And then on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday of next week, I will also be at the Sandusky County Fair. It's hard to believe it's Fair Week already next week, but it is. So I'll be out there in the afternoons on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday of next week. So if you want to say hi, if you want to give me your thoughts on the show or anything else that I do, news, any of that, stop by our booth. And, of course, pick up a free guide, and we might have some giveaways for you, too, next week. But you're going to have to stick around and stay tuned for that information on Eagle 99 WFRO. Stick around and stay tuned here on Eagle 99.1 FM, WFROradio.com, and, of course, our YouTube live stream. I'm going to have some more information about some of the coaches and the teams that could not be here tonight coming up. Meadow, Ridgedale, Crawford. He's got a good background in football, and he got the call this offseason to Clyde and coach the Flyers, and he said yes. Now, Clyde last year went 4-7, but they didn't get that first win until that Port Clinton game mid-season, and that really flipped their season around last year. They went on a hot streak last season. They ended up qualifying for the playoffs. They got that last spot in the playoffs. We talked to Coach Alex Shepard earlier about that first playoff matchup. It was against the Rebel Bellevue. It was for the first time in their long storied history. The first playoff matchup between the two. It was a 12-6 overtime win by Bellevue, and absolutely they carried that game on 92-1 goal. The stadium was absolutely jam-packed, and Bellevue and both Clyde and Bellevue sides. And if you heard me talk about Coach Alex Shepard, we talked about the returns for Clyde last year. We knew it was going to be a rebuilding year for the Flyers last year. Anyone who was close with them because they had a lot of and it just, you thought maybe they could struggle earlier in the season, and we wanted to see how the young guys would respond. They responded really well, and now those young guys have a lot of varsity experience and they're coming back this year, so expect the Flyers to be better than 4-7 this year, I would say. And they played a demanding schedule last year. They beat Portland 55-48 is the final score of that. My apologies not having it earlier. They upset Edison 27-10 last season. We were also in that game from Mylan Edison. They beat Sandusky 47 and they wound up by beating Portland to the season 13. They got outscored last season, 256-323. So they're moving on both sides of the ball. But it seemed like they were really fitting into their mold later in the year. Like I said, in the beginning of the season, it was almost both teams. It lasted until about week 5, and once week 5 came around, they turned it around. So 2026 schedule for Clyde, most of the same opponents except they're playing a game at home against Bedford, Michigan. It's a non-conference matchup, of course, and Bruce Rowan projection is the Flyers at 6-4, but we'll see, of course, we never know how those projections go. Louisville is not familiar with walking into a football environment. Clyde can improve defensively while maintaining offensive explosiveness. 2025-6 wins is realistic. I think that the Clyde Flyers could be more of a 7 or 8 win team. Of course, you never want to speculate on what a team's going to do, but as Coach Alex Shepard was saying earlier, they're expecting a 4-quarter game, knockdown and out, as it is every year between those two rivals. So the Clyde Flyers will lots to look forward to in 2026. Again, we are looking forward to having Coach in the coming weeks to talk all about it. He's going to bring his offense into Clyde, and we'll see how that plays out. They got a lot of returners this year, of course. The one that sticks out to me, Deacon Crockett, that speedy underclass from last year. Really was a deep threat, can catch anybody. He's returning this year underclass. Let's move on to the Oak Harbor Rockets, coached by Mike May. Mike May, of course, is one of the most decorated coaches in last year. They were 5-2. He advanced to the regional semifinal before losing the center, and Bruce Rowan will check out 8-2 and making the playoffs at 11 in Division 5. But they have one of the strongest football resumes in the area. They lost to Liberty Center by a big margin, 56-6. They're a real tough team to beat. Oak Harbor had an explosive offense last season. He scored 456 points, an average of 235 points per game. That's impressive, but it's nothing new with Mike May. Mike May always was versus offensively, defensively. He always holds out a tough team. And of course, I'm sure to tell you that it's all good for kids as well. 2 losses last season in the league, of course, but came against 2 of the league's best teams. Oak Harbor lost to North team. Oak Harbor always an intriguing matchup, especially in basketball as well. Those 2 teams, they're heavyweights and they slug it out. And also Last year, Oklahoma State East was 42-6, but other than that, they ran through the conference. And then they had another shot at least in the playoffs, and they won 32-26. So they flipped it around and lost 26 in the regular season, and then beat them 32-26 in both seasons. I'm sure ask Coach Mike May or any of the returns for this next year, which one they would have that playoff victory. And then the 2026 season opener is a good one. I said you'd be hard pressed to find a better matchup than Clyde and Belgrade. This one may be just as good. Oak Harbor is going to host Huron in week 1, and anybody who's thinking about high school football in this area knows that those two teams are almost very, very good. Oak Harbor beat Huron last year 52-46 in overtime to open the 2025 season. Both teams combined for 98 points, and Oak Harbor was escaping overtime, so a lot of eyes are going to be on that game. It's the projection for this year is a little bit below what we have, just wish Mike May and the Oak Harbor Rockets the best of luck. We're going to get Mike May on the show a couple of times this season, so we'd like to look forward to that. And a couple of coaches you may notice are not here tonight because they're at Fremont Amphitheater doing a pep rally for both St. Joe and Fremont City. Of course, the head coach Fremont winners and the head coach for the St. Joe Central Catholic Crimson Streaks, Josh Meyer. Let's look a little bit at the Crimson Streaks. Josh Meyer, of course, is going to continue to 8-man football this season. Last year, they went to the state title game in 8-man before losing to Sandusky St. Mary's. Needless to say, after 4-9 2023, advancing to the 8-man state championship in 2025 was a thrill for those kids. I'm sure they're looking for some revenge this season. So for those St. Joe Streaks, they're projected to be at 7-3 in third place. They was new 8-man team, 2 8-man teams in the season for the 8 conferences. It's a local championship because they're getting a couple of teams. One is out of Pennsylvania. Kenyon Catholic like Pennsylvania. Not to be confused with Warren. They are dropped down in football this year. So last year, again, these teams are struggling and struggling. That's not the case. You saw with St. Joe. They got a 2025 state. So we'll see how those matchups go. Plymouth, of course, St. Mary's, Striker, unfortunately, Kansas and also Hope as well. Just those teams that give St. Joe a good matchup. St. Joe will be playing that game on Saturday night. We broadcast those games on as we can. Of course, we have Green football that pre-amps St. Joe football, but the games we can get to for the Streaks, we are going to get to on those games on Saturday night. It's got to be. And before I dive into the team that everyone wants to hear about, I want to go over our schedule on E19 WFRO. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you're on YouTube Live, again, if you need to look for our YouTube link, go to our Facebook page, click on the link at the most recent post, and it'll take you right over here. Looking at my beautiful face, I apologize to the TV's despite what I'm sorry, I wish I was displaying on the video. It's this TV made break. This guy gets on the screen. We want to take you through some of our schedule coming up. Of course, on Friday, Ross at Columbia 6:30 kick off on the simulcast. Tiffany crew. On Saturday, it's the Cruisers Local Run Showcase Tour at Shelley's Bar and Grill. I'll be there from 9 to 11 a.m. giving you all the details. Then on Monday, we have a local season fair there too. On Tuesday, we have a local season fair. And on Tuesday, on 92.1 WFRO sister station, State Football Show, 6 to 8 p.m. Make sure you tune in and hear what Ryan Day and all the other coaches and players have to say about the upcoming season and week one matchup against Local State. I'm sure it's from the nail biter, but we'll see what Ryan Day and the Buckeyes have to say this here on Wednesday. Next week, of course, we have another race show right here at 7. Make sure you tune in for that next week. And then on Thursday, as I said, I'll be back at the Sandusky County Fair one final time that day from noon to 2. All right. Oh, also, thank you to Frickers one final time. Thank you, Frickers. Kids eat free every single day. Make sure you get around here, get yourself something cool to drink, something to eat, and watch also on TV with everybody here at Frickers. It seems like most communities come out tonight. That is awesome to see. All right. Done with the schedule, done with the thank yous, so let's talk about the Fremont Ross, the Little Giants. And of course, we couldn't have first-year coach at Fremont Ross, Kenny Winters, here this season, this week. He's out down at Fremont Amphitheater. He's doing that pep rally, Joe kids, and all his kids. But Ken Winters, obviously, that's the name everybody's been talking about this summer. Wood was coach at Whitmer last season, but decided to come home to Fremont Ross to coach the Little Giants. The Little Giants last year went 6-5, 3-1 in the NLL Cardinal Division. They lost the first round of the playoffs to Austin Falls, 69-38, and nobody really knows what to expect this year from the Little Giants. We could get another 500 year, or Ken Winters could really turn this thing around. But everybody is aware there's a lot of optimism around the Fremont Ross Little Giants in 2026. Whitmer, as a head coach of Whitmer, Ken Winters compiled a 73-28 record, won many league championships, and also kept getting up in the postseason almost every year he went. His final team last season went 9-3 and reached the Division I regional semifinals. And of course, he's replacing Chad Long at launch this year. She's a great guy, great coach. Sad to see him step down, but again, a lot of optimism, a lot of exciting buzz around Kenny Winters. The last game of the season for the Fremont Ross Giants last year was kind of a shootout. Their Olmsted Falls again. Lost those Giants. Their offense didn't they just couldn't stop that powerful offense, and it was 69. But they did go 6-5 last year. Scott and they shut out the year 28-0. Big piece comes back this year for the Los Angeles Giants. Jackson and first team Cardinal selection 25. He's been very vocal in the press about the energy that Coach Winters has brought to the program. So he's really excited. Jackson, of course, is a very talented player. We all just need a lot last year. This is, of course, Ross's schedule does not get any easier in 2026. Perrysburg and Whitmer, two big early tests, and of course they have to go to Findlay as well, which is always a tough test. They face the only moving behind that could have major but Ross will travel to Little Scott, play the Bulldogs, then they'll host a new member of the NLL Cardinal, Liberty Benton, who will be moving. Well, they're not moving, they're still in Division I, but they move to the NLL Cardinal. We'll see how Liberty Benton does. They're usually very, very good Division IV. We'll see how they match up between most of the Division II opponents in the NLL Cardinal Division. Bruce Morton has them looked at as 5-5, but of course they don't go through many things besides the numbers last year, the trends, and things like that. And as one of my favorite analysts said, the analytics never go over. So we'll see how the season shapes out for all of these teams that we touched on a little bit here. And next we're going to be talking with Coach Ryan Mosier of Lakota. We talk Raider football coming up. You're listening and watching on YouTube Live, the Frickers of Fremont High School Football Coaches Show on E99 WFRO, WFROradio.com, and YouTube Live. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the first high school football coaches show at Frickers here on E99 on 2026. My name is Dave Ross. Joining me now is Coach Ryan Mosier of the Raiders. Tonight, before we get to your questions, let's say thank you to Frickers one more time. Frickers, thank you so much for hosting us here. Another great spot. We're always in the game room. We always have stuff going on. Waitresses know what we're wondering. It's just a great place to host a coaches show. You got all the sports games on. The big TV in front, so always a great place to bring everybody around to eat or bring kids to Coach Ryan Mosier, Coach Raiders, good to see you again, Coach. Let's talk about last year. Well, not too much, but you went 4-6 last season, but to start out, you went 3-0, and then you ended up meeting Willard later on in the year. So, Coach, how are you looking to improve this year? And maybe, it's back-to-back 3-0? I knew that answer before I asked the question.
Get off his third touchdown. definitely circle back last year. It's actually like I said here. I don't know about you,
Yeah, that's the focus. 1-0 here in week one. We're talking about week one. Stress is getting to us here on Wednesday. It's almost Friday, but are you and the kids, are you guys pumped up to get back at it this year?
Yeah. You can feel it in practices and staff. You just get to a point where you're up so many times, you can your teammates so many times. It's time to play some football. So coach is just trying to make sure kids are in the spot, and everybody's got that little edge. I know myself right now.
Yeah, I bet you are, and that's a good way to be in week one. Just to get out there on the field. You guys start coaching, the kids start playing. Talk about your kids this season. 10 seniors, 6 juniors, and about 43 kids total. So 16 of them being upperclassmen for the season, and this also being playing.
Like back last year, and it's easy to say that. So I did a lot of things that that's why I did I guess I'll tell people. I don't watch it. Especially one of the right times I feel is when it's been a consistent if nothing else,
You open the season on Friday, you don't put that first of all, visitor out also and then they'll get
yeah, it's nice. Giving them that sense of I think that's big. It's hard for I think that's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is something right we're going to match today and focus some more. Get off the opportunity.
Talk about some young guys playing in different positions. What has surprised you most about the young guys that maybe they've stepped up? Maybe you initially thought they would, or they're more playing more mature.
A lot of those young guys that I think that's what's separating them from those kids could want. Yeah, they want to be exactly what they're at. Makes a difference. So we're with the mistakes, we're going
You talked about your 16 upperclassmen, 10 seniors, 6 juniors. What have you seen out of them leadership-wise for these young guys?
Again, like I said, just simply being a wingman and being in everything. Really, pushing them. I think in the past has been worse. But they're definitely
talking to Coach Ryan Lozier of the Dakota Raiders about the team this season. Ryan, last year you went 4-6. You had some standout players. Anybody that has impressed you in the summer that you might want to shout out here, maybe come look at the performance of the game?
We've had a lot of these abduction minutes. You take two goals, take a lot of guys.
Good luck, best of luck to the coach on Friday night. A couple more coaches, a couple more questions. See, we're all knocking the rust off. A couple more questions before I let you go. You know, we're not into the season just yet. We got a couple more days. You said that, you know, the guys in the weight room probably since December-ish. It was a great day. Wow.
Same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you never know those goals make a difference because I'm sure that's what they're telling your kids. They say last year came from the plant later on in November. So have you seen the same hunger and motivation in your kids that you obviously have to flip the script this season?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great right
Head coach Ryan Lozier of the Dakota Raiders. Coach, another question for you here. You know, I know I ask all the long-winded questions sometimes, but prefacing that last one, I was saying you guys have started since November, you said, in the weight room, and now it's finally all about to do a head here in week 1. What's the area you like to see that you guys have moved from last November to now? What are you most excited about?
I guess, again, back to just not so sure I think a that's the one thing I'm looking
But it's not the first time you'll be hitting someone with a different jersey on. Of course, some teams do scrimmages before the season, such as the scrimmages. Tell us about your scrimmages and how those look this past season.
First scrimmage going over responsibility.
It's almost good as a stand. You kind of want that friction between offense and defense.
You just had to just we see a lot of
Well, good luck to you this season, Coach. Again, you can catch the Lakota Raiders at home this Friday night, 7 o'clock against Elmwood. And we're not going to be carrying that game, but we'll definitely be checking up on it. And we'll talk with Coach Ryan Lozier a lot more this season. Coach, thank you so much for joining me again. Always great to have you on. And we'll get you out of here. Check this card here. All set there. And so the Lakota Raiders versus Elmwood Friday night, 7 o'clock. We wish Coach Lozier and his kids the best of luck. And so you stick around, stay tuned to your WFRO. WFRO.com, and of course our YouTube Live. Stick around, we're going to come back, we're going to talk some Woodmore Wildcat football and Coach Scott Staples. On Wednesday night for the Fremont High School Football Coaches Show here on Eagle 99.1 FM, WFRO.com, and of course YouTube Live. If you need to get the live stream link, go ahead and go to our Facebook page, go to our post, and click on the link, and you'll be sent right over to us. Waiting on Scott Staker of Woodmore did not see him out there. We did get confirmation from him that he would be here, but sometimes things happen and people are not able to make it. If that's the case, that's okay. No worries for there with Scott Staker. But we can talk a little bit about his Woodmore Wildcats now while we have the time. And while I'm getting my paper together, why don't you come on down to Frickers? They got incredible deals, including kids eating free every day of the week. And you can't beat that. They have 56 wings going on Tuesday nights for a limited time, so there's a bunch of deals here that you just can't beat, and there's no better place to watch a sports game. And Frickers, home to fun food, sports and spirits. Again, we're waiting on Coach Scott Staker. He may come in, he may not. A lot of coaches get held up in practice and what have you. But we can talk a little bit about the Woodmore Wildcats while we have a second here. They're returning 9 seniors and 12 juniors this year, 21 upperclassmen coming back. That's the third team of the night that has a strong upperclassman return this year. And you know what that means? I always say, if you had to throw your sophomores, sometimes freshmen, maybe premature juniors out there last year, that means next year you're going to have a tough team to beat because they have all that first-time experience. It looks like Woodmore is going to be one of those teams this season. Last year they weren't too shabby themselves. They went 7-4 in the regular season, and they lost to Central East in the first playoff game. Not a shootout there, but a barn burner. 15-13 was the final score of that high-scoring baseball game. It sounds like. But that was the final score last year where they lost to Central East. They went on a tear last season to start the year, beating Central 57-0, Montpelier 46, Fall Astoria 44-0, and they beat Dakota 42-6, and then they went to Willard and won 62-20. So the first 5 games of the season, the Woodmore Wildcats were 5-0, and they had back-to-back losses, one more and keeps the record to their teams as they are every single year. And one back-to-back at Northwood versus Calvert, and then they lost to Hopewell, of course, in the regular season. Looking to have another very strong season again. Kirtland, the team that Hopewell beat against last year, I believe moved up to Division 5 this year. So the Cheetahs, Hopewell are looking to win the state title this year, as is every team. I don't want to count anybody out, but Hopewell and Cheetahs are really having their eyes and sights set on that. But back to the Woodmore Wildcats, they returned 26 players. Impact player last year is back this year for his senior season. It's Calvin Lipstraw. He had over 1,000 yards passing last year, 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Excuse me. He averaged just a little bit over 100 yards per game. He wasn't very mobile on his feet. He only had 2 rushing touchdowns. Presumably they were sneaks because he had negative 29 yards on the year rushing. Just got sacked and rushed. But in the pocket, he could stand and deliver. He was a very efficient quarterback. He was 69 121 for 57% rate, 11 touchdowns and 6 interceptions this season. I believe they are without. Yes, they are without. Obviously, graduated the senior last year. The leading receiver last year was actually over 1,000 yards. I'm sorry, that's rushing. Excuse me, their leading rushing. Almost 2,000 yards. 225 for 1,993 yards, 32 touchdowns, only 1 fumble. He averaged 181 yards a game. Coming back to school well. He had 86 yards last year. Cole Potridge had 92. So they do have Ishinay. He had 82 yards just about. So they do have some depth at running back. When you have a guy that can rush for almost 2,000 yards in the season, you're going to keep handing him the ball. So the Woodmore Wildcats this year looking to improve on their record last year. It wasn't a bad record at all, 7-4. Coach Scott Staker, if he were here, I'm sure he can tell me how excited he is to get the season started. Unfortunately, Coach Staker could not join us here tonight, it seems. He confirmed with them earlier this week that he was going to go, and then of course things come up, practice comes up. He told me he was maybe moved, so I know there's a bunch of stuff that has come up for him, so we don't hold that against him at all. Coach Staker, you're more than welcome just come back and talk Wildcat football. We'd love to do that with you. It puts me in a bit of a tough position, but I'm going to keep moving on here, I think. Again, remind you about the upcoming schedule here on FM, and of course 92 on the Wolf as well, our sister station. I'll tell you about those in just a second. Of course, our Friday games, we're ready for Fremont Austin Columbia. We'll be simulcast with two broadcasters. Our Friday game on 92 sister station live at Bellevue, set at 600 p.m. 7 o'clock kickoff for that. That'll be myself and Will Corey giving you all the play-by-play action from that game. We're excited about that one. Coach Adam Shepard's excited about that one. From what I can tell over the phone this week, Coach Eric Lugo is excited about that one. So we are all pumped up for that matchup. And of course, same with the Ross and Columbia matchup. That's going to be a tough one. That's always a good one. And how tough it continues to be every year. The NRL Cardinal, it's a tough division to get wins in, but with head coach Kenny Winters and those determined little Giants, they always seem to get at least 5 wins under their belt. They always seem to get into the playoffs, and that is no small feat. I know schools that haven't made the playoffs for 20 years, so Division II making the playoffs almost every year. That is a commendable thing to do, and we'll see. I know Coach Kenny Winters has his sight deep November and possibly into early December run for the Little Giants. So we'll see if he can get that done. Eric Luthold, as we go back about talking about Clyde, is he brings a run and shoot offense. In fact, when we saw the Flyers and the Portland Redskins last year go out on the gridiron, there wasn't much running at all from Portland. It was mostly an air attack, and they scored a lot. They had a lot of speed. Clyde brings back a lot of speed this season. As we mentioned, Deacon Crockett is one of the fastest guys probably in the Northern Ohio Conference. And they're going to probably look to go to him, I would expect, early and often. But we'll see what the Clyde Flyers have on tap this year in the newly revamped offense. The Bellevue Redmen are going to be tough this season as well. We talked to Coach Alex Shepard about it. Bellevue Redmen are looking good. They have a lot of returning starters, and they always have a good offensive and defensive line. Their strength is always in their line. Their receivers are always quick. Their running backs are always tough, and they have that motivated, which is a big plus. And then, for our TV stations, of course, we want to think about the whole world. The Chieftains, they're looking to win the Division 6 state championship. They won last year. They showed against Kirtland. Tiffin Calvert at Senecas. They always are a tough team to beat. We'll have their game tomorrow night at WTTF. And Tom, why didn't you playing about Senecas?
Senecas are playing, oh goodness. I'm at that game, so I better know.
Tom's going to be our video operator. Oh, by the way, a big shout out to Tom Nesbitt, our video operator tonight. He's going to be our video operator for this season on our WTTF Facebook live stream, so make sure you check that out tomorrow and Friday night. As Tom thinks about that, let's talk a little bit about how about the St. Joe Central Catholic Crimson Straits coming off the state semifinal bid last year. Almost won the whole thing, but Sylvester St. Mary was able to edge them out. You got it, Tom? Lipstick. Yeah, okay. So Lipstick tomorrow. It's the very first game we have. We can't wait until Friday night for high school football. We got Thursday night football on the BAS Sports Network. WTTF AM 1600 FM 953 will carry the Tiffin Calvert Senecas at home versus Lipstick. So make sure you guys check that out. It's going to be a heavily attended game because people, including myself, itching to get that football bug back in their brain. So it's going to be a big matchup. I think that's why they do it on Thursdays. But anyway, back to the St. Joe Central Catholic Crimson Straits. St. Joe this year, they're looking to be tough again. Our sales rep, Pearson, he's got his son on the team, and he said they're going to look at it again. And they all of a sudden, the conference can cover more schools, drop into the Northern 8 Conference this year, Plymouth. Of course, out of Plymouth, Ohio, the Big Red. They used to be in the Firelands Conference. That was the conference that I played in growing up, so I know a lot about Plymouth. Great field, it's kind of remote, it's kind of out there. It's definitely a long way from Fremont, but they always work really tough. They always have hard grit. So the St. Joe Central Catholic Crimson Straits is going to have to look out for the Plymouth Redskins, but I think that the St. Joe Crimson Straits are set up to have another good year this year. Excited to see what Coach Josh Byron does with all of his players this season. And of course, talk Mike May, Harvard Mike
May. Couldn't be here this week, but we'll get him on in the next few weeks. Always the talk with Mike May. Always love his coaching philosophy. He's kind of like Ryan Carter in the respect where you talk to any other area coach about him, they just have a tremendous amount of respect for Mike May. And it's not just because he wins, it's because of how he conducts himself and how he coaches his teams, and that equals wins for his teams. He's one of the most winningest coaches in the area, maybe even in the state. Always puts together a tough team that always seems to make it to the playoff run, and we're excited to see what the Rockets do this year. Projected to go, I believe it was 8-2 on the season. They went 5-2 in the conference last season, so we'll see if they can improve on that. Again, we were waiting on Coach Scott Staker from Woodmore. I don't think Coach is going to make it, and again, that is perfectly okay. But we do wish that Coach Staker is, okay. Hopefully, he's just at home. Maybe he forgot. Maybe practice ran long. Maybe he's got a ton of stuff. He's still in the open phone. He's got a lot of stuff to worry about. So hopefully, it's nothing serious. Hopefully, those aren't plans. Hopefully, it's just he just forgot. Definitely, you never know. Again, no sticker. Before we get out of here, one final time, I want to say my thank yous to Tom Nesbitt at the video operation, and thank you to YouTube Live, all the viewers that tune in, all the viewers that are going to tune in tomorrow. Also, thank you to Aiden Klein back in our studio, our studio engineer. Aiden's the room man over there at BAS. If we didn't have him, I don't know what we would do. And he's good to do the Wednesday coaches shows. We're very grateful for that. Tom is going to be doing video work for Tiffin. He's going to be doing the coaches shows. He's going to be board operating some games. So he is going to be Mr. Utility. And we'll thank him for his service here at BAS. Thank you to everybody that came out here tonight. Of course, Coach Alex Shepard of Bellevue, Coach Ryan Locher, Dakota, all the assistants that came out with him to just watch the show and have a good time, have a good meal here at Frickers. It's an easy thing to do. We got a lot of good stuff. And thank you to everyone tuning in on WFRO.com. And of course, he's going to be live. I want to remind you that coming up on our BAS sports schedule on Saturday, don't forget. I said BAS sports schedule, but I should say just the BAS schedule as the sports aren't in full swing yet. But coming up here in the next couple of days, of course, we've got our school football Friday on the Eagle and on 92.1 of the Wolf. But we also have a showcase tour on Saturday morning. I'll be at Chewy's Bar and Grill in Fremont from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Cruising for Kendall Poker Run. You're not going to want to miss out on that. It's always a fun event to go to. Chewy's is a great bar to go to and have fun, have a good time, and support a great cause. We'll talk with some people at that event on Saturday morning. I'll give you all the updates happenings 9 to 11 a.m. I'll be there. And of course, on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday next week on 899 right here in the afternoon, I'll be at the Sandusky County Fair. And that'll be a ton of fun. I always love going to the fair. I always love seeing everybody out there. Make sure you stop on by, say hello, say, hey, this show was terrible. I don't know. Just give me your feedback, say hi, pick up a guide, and maybe pick up some prizes too. We'll be talking more about that on the air. You don't want to listen in next week. We've got some goodies to give away, but I'm not giving away what they are just yet. And of course, don't miss Tuesday night on Sister Station 92.1. We have a Lion Day show from 7 to, excuse me, I believe it's 5 to 7. It's 5 to 7. There it is. Yeah, next Tuesday is 6 to 8 p.m. But look, 6 to 8 p.m. Ryan Day show on 92.1 Wolf next week. Make sure you tune in for that. See what Ryan Day and the guys have to say about their matchup, week 1 matchup for Ohio State, and how the 2026 season is going to look and shape up for that. But until next week, until Friday for high school football, this is Nick Long saying thank you for joining in tonight, everybody, and stick around and stay tuned for all the hits all the time. Eagle 99 WFRO.